What's up YouTube, Carboss here, back in another video where I talk about cards, money investing. Today I got an interesting video. It's basically a question or basically a DM that I received from a fellow subscriber asking me to assess this particular auction that's ended for a complete set of a Marvel PMG 2017 Spider-Man bronze, right? That is actually partially graded. So we have some of these cards here. You can see here Silk, Venom, and Deadpool that's graded in a PSA, as well as still a couple others that's actually graded in SGC. So the question was whether or not this price, $5,100, was it an extremely good price, as in a steal, or is something like they're not picking up. Because where does this subscriber is coming from is that he was looking at the previous Godin auctions that ended not too long back. So I have pulled up the prices here. So you see a couple of examples here, prices in February when the prices were pretty high for Marvel PMG, so complete sets above 20,000, and the most recent one roughly about a month ago selling for 15,000, right? So the price has actually dropped a bit from 22 to 15, and the question was whether or not is this actually a steal. So we're just going to talk about that in a bit. So first and foremost, I did not bid on this particular lot, but I did actually consider the valuation for this, which I eventually passed on, right? And spoiler, the price that I actually worked up, the fair valuation on this actual listing, was indeed $5,000. But there were a couple of factors that actually motivated for me to kind of stay away from this lot, and therefore it closed at a price that I kind of like expected, right? So let's take a look a bit back on that Godin auction list first that actually ended about a month ago. So you can see here $15,000, right, for a complete set of SGC graded. So everything's graded in SGC, and a couple of the bigger cards such as the Miles Morales was graded at SGC 9, the Spider-Man was graded at SGC 8.5, right, and a few others as well. So all in all, I would say it's a pretty average graded set. Okay, to close at 15,000. Now everybody's expecting that the price has kind of dropped a bit for this, so we actually have to try and gauge what's actually the fair price of this set today. So when you engineer this price, right, this is $15,000 including buyer's premium. The actual price before buyer's premium is actually about $12,000. So, and there's obviously some fees to it, so the actual take home net would be, I would think that's about $10,000. So you're looking at, based on the price a month ago, 10,000 versus 5,000 today. So what does that mean? That means that if you took $5,000 and you send all the other cards for grading, making them consistent grade, because you can see here a bunch of all the other cards that's actually not graded, incur the fees, would you actually still make a profit of $10,000, right? So when I actually did the assessment for all these cards here, I did actually a quick desktop valuation on all these cards and how they arrive at the same $5,000. So let me explain. So with these first three PSA slabs, right, Venom being PSA 7, Deadpool PSA 8, and a Silk PSA 9, I did a rough estimate that these three cards, just ballpark valuations of a valuation for $1,000 for these three. Now it's again ballpark, right? So $1,000. And when I came to this next set of Captain America, Iron Man, I think Iron Man in a PSA 8, I believe, okay, close for about like $450, right? So my desktop valuation on this is roughly about $1,000 as well. And then we move on, we have these four bigger characters here. That's basically Miles Morales in the SGC 9, Spider-Man SGC 9, and Wolverine SGC 9 as well. So I got this just a very conservative valuations of about $1,500 for this. So 1,000, 1,000, and 1,500, that's 3,500, right? Covering about a dozen cards, not a dozen cards, sorry, 11 cards. So with this PMG bronze, there's 50 cards in the set, so there's about like another 39 cards. 39 cards that's left, right? So if you give an approximate valuation of roughly, let's say about like $30 a card or $40 a card, I think that gives you about 40, that's 1,600 plus 3,500 that we worked up earlier. That gives you a rough estimate of $5,000, and that's roughly the ballpark range that I would get. So whether or not this is a good deal, right? So can you actually make money from this 5,000? So we know that this is roughly the fair price to pay for this lot. So let's talk about upside. Now, to get all these things graded now, regardless of the grade here, right? So you may get some that's actually SGC 10 or PSA 7 or PSA 8, doesn't matter here because the main cards have already been graded. But one thing you got to do is you got to make sure that all are graded the same. So you have a mix here of PSA and SGC. So you got to actually make them either one or the other. Obviously, I'm more pro PSA for better value, but PSA is obviously expensive, right? So let's just compare. So imagine your cost is $5,000. If you send to PSA and regrade all but 3 of the cards, so you'll be regrading about 47 cards, and taking the economy prices at $50 each, okay, you're looking to spend around what's that, 2300, I believe, 2350, okay, excluding shipping and taxes, not taxes, shipping and insurance, right? So about 2350. If you send to SGC, you've got 8 cards already graded here, so you'll be sending about another 42 cards, at let's say $30, right? So that's about another $1,200. So kind of like double on that. So you're going to spend either $23.50 or $1,200 to send to either one. Now, so say for example you send a PSA, so it's $1,200, so that's $23.50. So you'll be cost base of roughly about, let's say, about like $7,500. Now, if you would try and sell and get the same pricings at what we saw earlier, and it's this one here at 15,000, where I said that the net was 10,000 on SGC, right? You've been netting only like $2,500, still decent, right? And PSA likely will get a slightly better premium, but don't forget, this was about a month ago when the prices were still pretty strong, and we're not exactly sure whether or not can we fetch $10,000 on a complete set of a bronze, today, even though they're on a PSA slab, right? You expect that when all these miles in this parliament convert to become PSA, likely they'll be PSA 8, right? It'll be a disaster if let's say they were PSA 7. So you can see already here there are some actually corner wears on these miles here, right? The top right corner and the bottom 2 corners. So all the big cards in this is likely we're gonna expect not for them to cross over pretty well, and therefore to have a conservative price about, let's say, 10,000. And we go talk about SGC, you're going to spend about $1,200 on top of this to bring your cost base to about 63, let's say call it 65, right? And the selling price previously was 10, but I would think that price has actually dropped quite a bit in the last month. So let's say conservatively you're gonna call it $8,000. So $8,000 against 6,500, you still make about $1,500, right? So all still decent margins to make, but here's where I actually step back and decided not to pull the trigger on, even though on this particular target price, right? Number one, time, right? So in order to pull all these off, you have to take time, right? The time comes in from the grading. So if you're going through SGC, obviously you can send everything through SGC. Their turnaround time is not actually guaranteed as well, right? So this is what, 3 months, maybe 4 months, right? Who's to know? And PSA as well, right? So even though you send economy, it's a 90 days turnaround, but you actually gotta get your slots first, right? And you only can get like 20 slots at one time, right? Every Tuesday and every Thursday, right? For your slots. So it's not an easy feat actually, and to get actually 50 slots, right? You got to do it across at least 1.5 weeks. So by the time you actually, assuming that you get all your slots, you got to wait a week past before you can actually send them for grading. And I always advocate to send grading together. But in this case, you could send like 20, 20, 10 if you choose to. But then again, you got to, number one, you got to get lucky with the slots, and you got to wait still that 3 months. And in 3 months time, right, things could be different, right? Perhaps by the end of 3 months, would this set be worth more? Who's to know, right? Will it be worth less? Chances are that the probability of worth less could be higher than worth more, looking at how things are going, especially complete sets, right? I always think that the big characters will still do pretty well, but things like bronze set, especially bronze PMGs, right, are kind of taking a big hit at the moment. So all things considered, it was something that I factored in when I was, assessing this set. Like I said, the valuation was kind of fair at $5,000. If I had gone in, really conservatively, I would perhaps try to go in at $3,000. But obviously, somebody did the math and did the numbers and said that, okay, 5,000 is fair, which I agree. But to me, to do all that work, all right, to make about 1,500 or 2,500, with all things being equal, seems kind of a bit risky to me. Alright, so I hope that answers the question to my subscriber. Thanks for that, and I do welcome more of these kind of questions for me to assess whether or not a particular deal is I would say workable and stuff like that, something like along these lines, right? It's pretty interesting when I do this case study, as well as I enjoy presenting to you guys. All right, do like and subscribe for more videos in the future. Thanks for watching again. Cowboys out.